Hi, I'm Scarlet and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post weekly videos on paganism, tarot, and magic. For today, I thought we would do a video all about the Fool card in tarot. This card is fascinating on so many levels, and after this video, I would love to see your own interpretations on the Fool card in the comments down below. For many people, the Fool card represents things like new beginnings, a childish sense of enthusiasm, naivete, and even risk-taking. And while these are all true, by looking at both the evolution of the Fool card as well as the symbolism, you can really get a more profound understanding of the significance of the Fool card and what it really represents. So, in early tarot decks, the Fool card was titled Le Mat in French or El Matto in Italian, and these archaic words can mean either the madman or the beggar. The problem is that these two words definitely bring to mind two very different things. Also, these are definitely not the first words that come to mind when we look at what might be the most popular interpretation of the Fool, which comes from the Waite tarot, which was originally published in 1910. The Waite Fool with his fancy clothing definitely does not make you think beggar. However, this image of the Fool, it might be described as a madman, as it kind of looks like he is without a care in the world. And here, his madman-like qualities might not necessarily be a bad thing. There's a sense of great courage in the leap of faith he is about to make. He's about to jump off that cliff, and perhaps he knows that this leap will be a necessary part of his wider journey. And after all, there is definitely a thin line between madmen and genius. And indeed, perhaps he too represents the concept of divine madness. And this idea of divine madness can be found throughout Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and countless other spiritual traditions and religions. On the other hand, you have the idea that the Fool represents El Matto or Le Mat in terms of a beggar. And yes, the earliest interpretations of the Fool do show him as a beggar or a lowly jester. And here in these early interpretations, the childish optimism of the Waite Fool is pretty much lost. And instead we get something more real and perhaps more fearful. The early interpretations of the Fool really show the fears we experience whenever we start out on a new journey or adventure. In some Fool cards, like the Visconti Sforza, he is shown wearing like ragged clothes and stockings without shoes, which is clear evidence that he has really fallen on hard times. And this perhaps hits upon our own fears of financial ruin when we decide, in turn, to venture out on our own. And in the Tarot de Masai, the Fool here, he shows, he looks like a classic jester. And in this image, a dog appears to have humorously pulled down part of his pant leg, making the Fool even more of a laughingstock among his peers. And this again, it hits at our own fears of ridicule from our own peers when we decide to forge our own paths. So then, as a reader, how are you meant to interpret the Fool card? In the Rider-Waite image, the risk-taking is encouraged and kind of seen as a beautiful aspect or on our first step on this path to enlightenment. But the earlier decks show it as more of a cautionary warning that by going along this path, you will inevitably run the risk of ending up worse than where you started. This is why deck selection is a vital component when doing a reading. If a Rider-Waite Fool shows up in a reading, you might advise to go ahead and begin your new project and embrace the enthusiasm and excitement that you're feeling at the moment. However, if you're reading with the Visconti Sforza deck and you see the Fool card, you might instead recommend that more planning is necessary before starting this new journey so that you will have all the resources you need in order to be successful. Another way to get a better handle on how to interpret this image is by relying on your own intuitive abilities. If as a reader you feel a sense of joy when you pull this card, then likewise a more optimistic interpretation makes sense, and vice versa. Another way to use your intuition is to pay close attention to which specific symbol in the card first catches your eye or seems to draw you in. This symbol perhaps holds a better clue of what aspects of the cards you should emphasize in your interpretation. So let's look at some of the symbolism in the Rider-Waite Fool card. Let's start at the top with the number 0. Because we are starting with 0 as opposed to 1, it seems that this card is almost completely different than the rest of the major arcana cards. And the 0 here, while yes, is a powerful number, a 0 is also in the shape of a circle. And the circle here alludes to the fact that cycles are an hugely important underlying component of tarot as a whole. There is a sense that we, like the Fool, are in a constant cycle of completion and new beginnings. And the major arcana, it ends with the World card, the image of a globe bringing to mind another cycle. And it reminds us that the Fool card is then not just about beginnings, he also represents the completion of a previous achievement. The circle perhaps is also a foreshadowing of another powerful symbol we see on the following card, the Magician. The Magician, he wears an Ouroboros belt, yet again another representation that the cycle is infinite. Moving to the bottom of the card, you can see a dog, perhaps warning the Fool about the cliff ahead. While earlier decks show the dog as an active member in the beggar or jester's humiliation, you definitely don't get that feeling when you're looking at the Rider-Waite dog. And images of dogs in general, they make us think of loyalty. And you can go all the way back to the Odyssey, where Odysseus had a loyal dog named Argos, who was the only one who recognized him when he returned back from his long journey. And perhaps in this instance, it shows the dog's ability to understand the essence of who we are, even after we've evolved and changed. You get the sense that this dog too, in this image, will still be loyal to the Fool, even as he undergoes this transformative journey. Dogs are also seen as, of course, symbols of companionship. And the specific dog seen here is perhaps a Maltese, which was a breed favored by the wealthy during the Renaissance. And you can see this type of lapdog featured prominently throughout many of the portraits during this time. And perhaps this suggests that the Fool here likewise needs a companion on his journey. So if you feel intuitively pulled to the image of the dog in this card, you likewise might suggest during the reading that it would be a good idea to have a partner or a friend to help you out as you begin along this journey. And the knapsack that the Fool carries at the top left of the corner, it reminds us of the things we carry in our own daily lives. On the one hand, it can allude to materialism. While the Fool appears to be nicely dressed, he oddly carries very little in his bag. Perhaps a suggestion that on a spiritual journey, one needs very little in terms of material objects. And, likewise, we too, need to move beyond the sense of ego and materialism in our own spiritual journeys. And the specific image drawn onto the bag that the Fool carries is not exactly clear, though some say it is in the shape of the head of an eagle. Again, the idea that by removing our own physical attachments to the world, we too can take flight on our own more profound journeys. The rose that the Fool holds is white, the color of purity. And this assures us that while the journey will definitely be difficult, it will also be beautiful. In addition, perhaps the white color, it also encourages us to clear our own minds as well in order to forge a greater intuitive connection to this card and our own readings. And there are many other symbols in this image, but I hope this gives you a bit of an idea on how understanding symbolism can bring about further context and complexity to a reading. To fully understand the meaning of the Fool as a reader, you too need to go on your own journey of development. Tarot study is so fascinating to me because it combines the study of history and symbolism with the more mysterious aspect of cultivating our own intuitive abilities. When it comes to interpreting this card for day-to-day situations, there are several insights you might make. Since the Fool card is all about new beginnings, it could herald that we too are about to start something new in our lives. This would be something we are excited about, but perhaps we're also a bit naive about what to expect. There are so many times we take on the role of the Fool in our lives. For example, when I left for college many years ago, I was, starting on my own fool's adventure. Physically, I traveled across the country to go to college and had to make all new friends. Like the Fool, I was excited beyond belief, but definitely also naive about how much hard work that would entail. There are so many examples of moments when we experience these qualities in our own lives. Like perhaps you're starting a new career, or maybe you just had a new baby. In a more broader sense, the Fool can represent the beginning of our own spiritual journey. Some refer to the whole of tarot in general as the Fool's journey, as if the Fool is like the protagonist in a great story, and the other cards of the major arcana are characters or people he will meet and learn from along his journey. Perhaps we too are the Fool here. We are protagonists in the story of our own spiritual development. So whichever way you choose to interpret the Fool in a reading, one thing is certain, that this new journey we're on, while difficult, will definitely be worth it in the end. So if you liked this video, do please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. And if you're interested in learning more about tarot, you can sign up for one of my one-on-one personalized lessons through my site, Arcane Alchemy. I'll put a link down below in the description of this video. And to let me know in the comments what you would like me to make for my next video. If you would like to see another tarot video or a video on another topic, definitely let me know down below. And also, I wanted to take a second to thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I've really enjoyed making them and reading all of your wonderful comments. You guys are constantly inspiring me in so many different ways, and I look forward to making another video for you next week. So I'll see you then. Bye!